Meet Stef and Jake, the new crew on Dragonfly, chartering in the British Virgin Islands. We discuss shark hugging, diving and snorkeling off the beaten path, and their optional third crew member, Parker. This is Stephanie Lowry, and you're listening to the Songs in the Sails podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent.
Very
How
good.
are you?
Good. Just running around. Where are you guys at this morning? Are you in the BVI or in the USVI?
We're on St. Thomas at the moment, over in Red Hook.
You're-
Red Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys chartering with the new boat in St. Thomas or the USVI primarily? Or are you going to do BVI too?
BVI primarily, this boat's based in BVI. Caveat that as of day after tomorrow, we might not be on this boat. We'll be on a different boat. So it's been
Isn't that the way of it?
Yeah, that's the way of it. It's been an interesting few months, but
It's not ideal, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. And so we may not be on this boat after tomorrow evening, and we'll let you know if that's the case, if it makes any difference in your editing. We will for sure be off by the end of July for sure. We know that we'll be on a different boat next in the fall.
This
Right,
is
maybe-
exactly why I want to do these. This is because the boats are the boats and you guys are you guys and you move because that's just the way of this business. This season you're on this, but next season you're somewhere else, but it helps to know you guys. And though I want to help book the boats, it's like speed dating. We get to talk, we get to know you, and people feel more comfortable. So anyway, this is exactly why. So then we'll just focus on you guys and we don't have to talk about the boat. We'll just talk about you and your chartering and the way you like to operate regardless of where you are. Very cool.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So you guys will hopefully be chartering in the BVI, but you do USVI too, whichever boat you're on. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you both get started in this industry? I think I actually had your first one of your first lunches in St. Thomas, like way back in the day.
Yeah. When we were owner operators.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's sort of backwards. So I've been boating all my life. Since I turned, I think 23. We talked about retiring and to the Caribbean or somewhere and traveling around on a catamaran because it had been a dream of mine for a long time. And long story short, we wound up here on a catamaran to do some construction work in St. And then that didn't pan out terribly well. But I'd already set the boat up for a charter and got my license.
I had no idea what chartering was either, by the way. I was like, people go on else's boat on a vacation. Like, this was a whole new concept to me. I had no idea what it was.
And then we met some people that were actually doing charters in St. Martin, talked to them and found out a little bit more about it and fell into it. And 5 years later, we're still doing it. But never did it.
Yeah.
And you made
like,
your
that sounds
first
like a
boat
lot more
explode.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did 4 seasons on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was,
she was
always
always
busy. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was always busy. I mean, we did 4 seasons on her and it got to the point we were not able, people were asking, well, can we just open up one more week? We're like, no.
You're like, no, for my mental health, I can't.
Yeah.
20 was plenty, no
Yeah.
more than that. So
Yeah. That's a lot. Very good. So what did you do? What was your jobs before? Did you come from the tech world or from marketing?
I worked in medical management actually. So I was kind of a fixer. I'd go into a medical practice and fix it and did contracts, typically 2 to 3 years. And Jake was a general contractor, high-end builder.
Yeah, had a general construction business in Northern California. Prior to that, I actually built some boats. So I've been making and fixing things all of my adult life, which is pretty handy on a boat. They break every day.
For sure. Now, were the boats that you had based out of California, or did you have to go somewhere else for them?
Yeah, so back then, we had ski boats and a big sport fishing boat and smaller fishing boat. And
we had a houseboat.
Had a houseboat and raced sailboats in San Francisco Bay and lots of different things.
So then what does your day look like as a captain and chef?
Very busy. We're typically up anywhere from a half hour to an hour before guests, depending on how early they rise. So we can get coffee going and start breakfast, that kind of thing. Jake actually cooks a fair amount of the breakfast for us. So it gives me a chance to do some of the admin work or something else. I don't get a lot of time to actually visit with them, but we stay pretty busy. I'm either in the kitchen cooking, cleaning up, prepping for the next meal, making cocktails, or anchoring or whatever the case may be. And Jake is typically driving the boat entertaining in the water.
Yes,
And it's very guest specific. We tried really hard to get to know the guest through the preference sheet and through a fairly extensive pre-charter call to see what they want to do.
Yeah.
So one set of guests might be into lots of beach time, and so we're organizing that. If we have divers, we're setting up dive gear and getting to dive sites. So it's really specific to whatever the guests want for that particular trip.
right.
Yeah.
Do you find that if you ask specific questions, it helps you know them better? Like, sometimes people are like, I won't eat this. But if you ask if they like capers or olives or something, then, or maybe something else that well, actually they will eat these things, right? Is there anything that helps either one of you?
One of the questions that we ask them when we're on the charter call is, do they like cilantro? That seems to be a hot one.
Huge. Yeah.
It's amazing how many people don't like raw tomatoes, but they'll eat it in a sauce or something. And so drilling down on that is important.
Yeah.
Or might have a cheese allergy, but eat, other
Parmesan.
kind of dairy. So
I don't know.
I mean,
I feel like even though they might not eat dairy, they always eat Parmesan.
Right.
And butter.
And butter.
And butter. Yeah.
So it's interesting. We found over the years doing the calls, like I'll ask, do they eat mangoes? Do they eat avocados and that kind of thing? Because you may not in your regular life eat mangoes all the time or eat pineapple, and knowing if you like it or don't like it helps me know what you want, and do you eat a lot of fruit and vegetables in your diet? Because we'd like to put out a fruit platter, but if nobody's going to eat it, I'm not going to put it out.
And we do ask a lot of questions on the call. Stephanie usually handles the first half of the call with food and drink related stuff. And, we kind of try to reiterate with them that we've got to provision everything before we leave. Potentially a stop, but it's usually not much of a grocery store.
Yeah.
And then I'll take over the call and talk about itinerary and, do you guys got to hit all the spots that your best friend did last year? You got to go to Soggy Dollar. You got to go to Willie T's. Or would you rather be as by ourselves as we can manage, or a mix? And then get them talking about that stuff, and you get a sense of who they are and what they want. We do a lot of diving on the boat. I'm a dive instructor, and Stephanie's a dive master. And we've always offered diving on the boat. But invariably, you get out of a group of 6, you might have 2 or 3 divers, so it can't be a totally dive vacation. So you try to get this, how many dives do you really want to do? Because we need to make sure we have time for everybody else. And so we try to dig in pretty deep and adjust the charter for them that way.
Yeah.
That's good. I love dive boats. I learned how to dive on a yacht charter. So I did my first resort dive, and then I did my checkout dive in the BVI as well.
Nice. Nice place to do it.
And we do a fair amount of actually resort dives or discover scuba diving. A lot of people will be interested in it, but not want to go through all the coursework. And so again, on the call, we'll chat with them like, is this something you're interested in? We want to make sure we have all the gear if you do. And there's quite a few people that do it and then end up going on and getting certified or, choose to do whatever they want past that. But we do a lot of resort diving.
It's because you get bit by a bug. Once you do the resort diving, you're like, I never want to not do this again. If the opportunity is available, I always want to be able to. It's amazing.
Yeah. 8 out of 10 of them say they should have just gotten certified in the first place.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. But they just don't know until they know. Right.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's a nice way to test the water, so to speak. I mean, it's like, you get to go down, see everything safely with your dive master or dive instructor. And it's really, it's a cool way to do it for sure. Yeah. Because, again, we almost always tuck in about a half hour after guests, because you're cleaning up just a few things, setting up coffee pots, that kind of thing. So we're to bed typically after the guests and up before them. But it's great. It's really a cool way to make a living. Our backyard is the ocean. Like I can see the ocean from here.
Right. Cool. That is very cool. All right. So I know that you guys have chartered the USVI and the BVI, but you also go down to St. Martin and St. Bart's, I think. Now, have you chartered outside of that? Or what is your favorite chartering?
We actually lived in St. Martin. The first 7 months that we were in the islands on our boat, we stayed in St. Martin. We actually have never run a charter.
You've never done one.
We really like St. Martin. And so if somebody wanted us to travel and the weather was permitting, that's always the challenge sometimes, is getting the boat over there. And we've done one early season charter down in the Grenadines with a repeat guest, which was delightful. It's for those that don't know that, it's much more of an actual sailing destination because the islands are a little farther apart and they're nicely arranged, north and south, so you can sail most places. But it's they're longer sails than they're offshore sails.
Yeah.
And so if you're uncomfortable on a boat, the St. Francis Channel inside the BVI is much better for you. But if you really want some good open ocean sailing, the Grenadines are spectacular.
I think that BVI is a great, jumping off place. Is where so many charters are done as BVI and USVI. There are some guests that have come 2 or 3 times and they're like, well, maybe we'd like to do something different. And those are the guests that are kind of perfect for doing a down island charter, pick them up in St. Vincent, go down to Grenada, try and do ideally a 9 or 10 night charter because it's bigger open water. But guests who are aware of what it's like to be sailing for 4 hours. A first timer would be, I think, surprised to go down there for sure.
Right. What's your favorite chartering destination though for you guys? What do you love the most? Or individually, you can have something different.
Great question. It's interesting. I like doing both BVI and USVI, and a perfect charter for me is doing both things. Like maybe picking up in BVI, doing a few days where you're doing Soggy and you're doing some of the big tourist stuff, but then going over to St. John. There's a lot of really nice secluded areas for diving specifically. Yeah. And being able to kind of do a combination of both USVI and BVI would be great. And St. John actually has a decent grocery store that if I did need to pick up something that charter I can. But, but kind of doing a blend of both is really nice. But I would start BVI and then end up in USVI if it was.
That's limited for so many boats these days, or they're just not willing to do it. Are you guys able to do it most of the time? If they want
to. So we're able to do it if a guest wanted to. Like it's easier to pick up in BVI and then drop off in St. Thomas.
Right.
Yeah.
It's coming this way is a little easier. And then the other thing it allows us to do, because we're not as non-belongers, we're not allowed to catch lobster in the BVI.
Right, but
and
you can in the USVI.
Especially divers in the USVI, we can. As U.S. crew and on a U.S. flagged boat, we're completely legal to charter in the USVI.
So, I mean, if we have a charter that's picking up in BVI, dropping off in USVI, fine, and then we'll be feet back to, BVI to do the next pickup. So,
yeah. Very good.
And for me, I would probably say that, if we could figure out how to be full-time down in the Grenadines and have good enough business, I wouldn't mind that at all. It's beautiful. It's beautiful down there. It's, it's kind of old school Caribbean vibe, it's a bit more rustic and the sailing's amazing. You can sail almost everywhere. So
and there's not the reefs down there tend to be a little bit healthier because there's not as much pressure. There's not as many people on it. So the water quality and the reef quality is definitely superior to what we have up here. And it's good here. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just
right. For sure. Well, then what is your favorite dive and snorkel spot?
For me, I really like Sprat Point off Water Island. It's a quiet little area that hardly anybody goes to. You have to have the right conditions to get in there. But the dive or the snorkel there, it's long fingers of, you can go down an aisle, kind of like shopping lane almost. You go down and then come back through. But there's canyons and swim throughs, and the reef is really, really there. We've caught a lot of lobster there.
Yeah.
I really like it there. Very quiet and secluded.
For me, it's, anywhere off the beaten path. So I have a little trick that I do if it's calm enough weather. I've got a 100-foot long rope that I attach to my BC, my vest, and I attach to the dinghy. And I can dive wherever. I dive and I just drive. You see this dinghy floating around on the surface because I'm underneath it, taking it in different places. So
That's your best dive partner ever.
I spend hours just looking at the charts on my phone and go, I bet you that's cool. Go over there, and we found some really pretty interesting dive sites that way, and that nobody ever goes to because there's no dive ball. You can't anchor there, but you can float past.
That is true. There's been some amazing places. Yeah.
So the south side of Flanagan Island, there's a little bitty island called Flanagan, which is the easternmost point in the USVI. It's right between St. John and Norman Island, and on the south side of that, there's some great reef that you can float along like that.
That is an amazing dive, also. That's a spectacular dive.
It's all about going places not everybody goes.
That's cool. I actually haven't heard about that one. People talk about Water Island, but not, is it Sprat Point?
Sprat, yeah. It's one of those places that can be really rolly if there's too much wind. You can go in there 50% of the time, but it's nice when you can get in there. And Flanagan's the same way. There's not much protection there. It's a very small island. So the conditions have to be right to get there, but the snorkeling there and the diving is spectacular.
Yeah. So and off the southwest corner of Flanagan, if you think of the Indians,
Yeah.
where it's got the little rocks poking out,
Right.
but nobody's ever there. Think about snorkeling the Indian with nobody around, and then that's what it's like.
And then that's your place.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
Flanagan Island. It's just, yeah. It's pretty good.
All right. What is your favorite meal to make, Steph?
I think for me, one of the favorites is doing a Peruvian night. And so I do traditional Peruvian green rice, fried tostones, the green plantains,
Yeah.
and then we do sweet plantains as well. And then the protein can be mixed. Sometimes it's fish or chicken, depending on what the guest wants, or pork. And then we do a fresh green sauce, which is cilantro, lime juice.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people have never had. That's why I asked specifically about the cilantro, but it's light and fresh, but really filling. So that's definitely a favorite. People love that one. So.
What is your
And-
favorite
and for
meal she
breakfast.
makes?
That she makes?
Yeah.
Probably her braised short ribs,
Ooh.
because those are just amazing.
Yeah.
And she slow cooks them in a couple days before she serves them, so they get to sit and all the juices, and they're delicious. And yeah, so that's very good. Everything that she makes.
He likes that.
And
All
then
right. What
for
about you for
breakfast, my favorite.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, for breakfast, I do a big crepe board, a big spread with crepes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
either that or French toast sticks with strawberry or raspberry compote or blueberry compote on
Yeah.
top. But
Yeah.
probably the crepe board, because it's the fun that presents the nicest.
Oh, yeah. Do you do
and people
sweet
can
and savory?
serve with peanut butter and Nutella.
Yeah. Well,
Mostly
more
sweet. I got a pretty big
Okay.
sweet tooth. It's problematic sweet stuff. So but we have peanut butter and maple syrup and Nutella and fruit and a fruit compote and a variety of stuff.
some kind of
That sounds
sausage or bacon or something like that so
Yeah.
you can have a little savory, but it's pretty sweet. And it's kind of fun because our friend Shirley, who is French Canadian, taught Jake how to make crepes during COVID. We got close with them, and she started making crepes for all of us as a group and taught Jake how to make crepes. So it's kind of this, every time he makes them, I think of Shirley, at least, Shirley and
Yeah.
David, and that we're taking her recipe and now making it for guests. She would be very proud.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Okay. What is your
Yeah.
favorite activity on charter?
I think for me, I like showing people what happens underneath the water. It doesn't necessarily have to be diving, but snorkeling or diving with people is fun because a lot of people have never experienced seeing a reef, how active it can be, what the fish are like. And so you've got first time snorkelers and you're taking them out. That is a magical experience. If you have divers who maybe just haven't dove in such clear water, I mean, we have 50, 60 foot visibility on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
being able to show people what that's like is one of my favorite things for sure.
Yeah.
And for me, it's teaching, whether or not it's teaching diving or teaching people how to sail. People are always so interested,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that part, being able to introduce people to the lifestyle, what it's like to live on a boat, sort of all the elements of teaching.
Yeah.
Some people really surprise you. One of my favorite memories, there's a couple who are actually going to go to their wedding in May, but Evan, the son, who's total gearhead guy, right? We had lots of conversations about boat motors and trucks and cars and all this stuff. And he was absolutely enthralled with sailing. Like, he wanted to know every detail of how things work, how we created lift with the sails and sail trimming. And he was so enthralled with the physics of sailing. It was the coolest thing to teach him. He was like, and it would have been the last person that I expected to want to know.
Late 20s, kid or whatever. And, he was like, show me more. Let's go sailing. Let's just go that way. So we could sail for like 4 hours and then we'll come back. And I'm like, okay. I mean, if your family's on board, sure.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah.
So would you say that is your favorite charter memory too, or do you have another one?
No.
I think
Our-
Owen and Allison.
So our favorite charter memory. So we had this couple on Dreamcatcher on our old boat, and they were delightful, super sweet.
He was 82 and she was 76.
They were widows that had met in a WOW group at church, which was widows and widowers, right? And
So cute.
she just went to be so. She said, I wasn't looking for anything, but there he was.
Yes.
And so
It was ridiculous how cute they were.
they got married and they came down the boat. They were very spry and healthy, really, but he
Yeah.
had very bad tunnel vision, like just, bad eyesight. And he could only see what was right in front of him. And she was very uncomfortable in the water, right? And they wanted to snorkel. And we tried snorkeling one day and it was very awkward. It didn't work out very well. And then Stephanie had a brilliant idea.
Well, because Owen, like on the preference sheet and then on the call said, I just want to see a reef. I want to see a coral reef. I want to see fish. And we're like, all right. So this was super important for them. This was like their bucket list item that they wanted. And so I thought about after our failed attempt at snorkeling, I said, what if we take the paddleboard and we lay Owen and Allison across it, and then you and I will be on either end of it, and we get to be the power that pushes it. Tired, she can sit on the board, but then Owen can lay across, and we can get him literally over whatever it is we want him to see, because his sight vision was maybe 12 inches circle. He had a very small circle to see. Then we can get him over it. And that worked brilliant. We did it in a couple spots and we were able to basically tow them all over the reef. They didn't get tired. She could sit up when she wasn't feeling comfortable. And Owen got to see fish, turtle, shark, all the things.
Oh,
and
that's
it was
so
We could dive
neat.
down and pick something up and bring it up and show them.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
absolutely like, we get Christmas cards still. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We get cards from them every. But that was just really cool. I mean, you have to think outside the box when you're in charter, right? Like not every group is the same. Some people need a little bit more adaptation to something than others. And in this particular instance, I was like, there's a lot of things that you could not do on charter. If we missed going to a bar, they weren't going to care. But he specifically wanted to see this thing. And so making that happen was like really fun for us. So
yeah. And it was super magical for him too, and to have such a excitement about that at that age, I feel like a lot of times they lose that spark of excitement because there's not much to be excited about anymore.
He's really working through his list of things that like he hasn't done yet. And, like I said, it was like a check off item. Like, I want to see this. I've not seen it before. I want to see it. And I was like, well, let's do it. At, 82, how many more opportunities are you going to have to come do this?
Right.
So
right.
Cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. What is interesting and unique about you two as a crew?
We were chatting about this earlier a little bit, and I really think the fact that we have kind of a unique job share. Jake jumps in and helps do some of the breakfasts. He does anything really that baking wise, like he does desserts and stuff too. Because I honestly can't be bothered to measure anything. That's just too in the box for me.
It's very chemistry.
And she does not like to follow directions.
But he loves them. So that part works out really well, but it then overflows into other things, right? Like if Jake's in the kitchen baking, then I might be leading the snorkel tour or getting paddle boards down or whatever the case may be. So there are some jobs that are his, some jobs that are mine, but ultimately we really overlap them well and try to support each other. And I know having him in the kitchen for me has been really, really good. And
probably for your mental stability too. Because then you're not stuck in the kitchen or the galley, because a lot of chefs are like, I never come out. I never get to do this. I never get to do that. But I can see that you trading off and doing that would be super helpful to you. Well, and him, because then you're not, going to choke anybody.
Yeah, I think it's good for both of us. I actually get to see the sunlight, and it gives Jacob the chance to step away from some of the guest activity. He can just zone out in the kitchen, and I can take care of whatever questions they have and gear that they need. So that I think is probably our most unique feature.
Yeah, and we never fight.
Yeah,
ever.
That works.
Going on 15 years, so.
Do you have any specific challenges as a crew that you see?
I mean, I think there's challenges, but and I don't want it to sound like a negative thing, but I think each week when we have guests come on board, our biggest challenge is quickly assessing the guests themselves. Who likes to do certain things? What kind of personality do you have? And so for the first 24, 48 hours, our job is just to assess, the guests and how we can make them happy. Each group is different. And within the group, it's different. Some might really like the water, somebody else doesn't. So that's our biggest challenge, but it's not a negative thing. It's just that's the biggest challenge, I guess, for us.
Yeah.
That's not a bad challenge to have.
You have to read people and be adaptable personalities very quickly and, be neutral You can't take sides.
Right.
Yeah.
And get people. The big approach that we take that we don't know if other people do. The first thing that we say in our welcome conversation once they get on the boat is that we live on the boat year round and we treat it as our home, and we want you to as well. We're
right.
Want to welcome you into our home. We're sent here to take care of you. If you're lying in the trampoline and you need a drink, ask us what we're here for. If you're walking past the cooler and you want to grab something, feel free to grab something. Getting them to that space where they really understand. Some people are like, I'm in a hotel, I can't touch that. And you're not, it's just, you're here. We're all in this together for the week. Let's have the best time we can. Right. And when people start to open up that, invariably in a group, there might be one guy that wants to be the bartender. Have at it. Here's your stuff.
Right.
Everybody wants to be served. Well, what do you need? And so, being flexible and navigating that isn't, like Stephanie says, it's not a negative challenge, but it is. Right. It's something that we are constantly aware of and trying to perfect, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. What is your craziest guest story?
Oh, you got this one. I know you do.
Yes. All right.
He's laughing before he even starts telling it.
Yeah. It comes up every week. Almost every week people want to hear.
So we've learned a lot of stuff on charter, right? And you learn there's certain rules that you have to tell people about you never thought you would have to say. And this is one of those stories. So we had this young man, he was 15, 16?
16.
And he was a fabulous fisherman. He brought his own fishing pole and his own fishing gear, and he was catching everything. He was the first person to land a tarpon on the boat. He's like, I don't get started, land started. And so he fishing fool, right? The last night of charter, we're anchored, and he catches a nurse shark, 7.5 foot nurse shark, on a fairly light set of tackle. And he gets to the boat. All right, this is great. We're gonna be able to release it, all this stuff. He gets it all tired out. He gets to the boat. He hands the rod to his sister.
Yeah.
He says, Mom, Dad, take a picture. He jumps in and hugs the shark in the water before we can say a word.
Oh my gosh.
We do have that picture too.
Fortunately, he didn't. Fortunately, the shark was tired and didn't eat him, and the parents went along with it, and we're like, okay, get him back out of the water, and
get out of the water. Yeah,
no shark hugging allowed.
Like, if you want to go fishing, if you happen to catch a shark, totally fine. Do not jump in the water with the shark. Do not, hug.
No shark hugging.
Yeah,
I guess he got lucky that it was a nurse shark. You said, right? I mean, that's also.
But still, they can get hungry, but I mean,
for sure. But
yes. Three shark might have been a big story, but still.
I'm like, you talk about nurse sharks being kind of docile and bottom feeders, big dogs, whatever. But I'm like, don't.
If she got a hold of him, she wasn't gonna let go.
I know.
No, for sure, that would have been real bad. That's a good one.
That is a rule. Any boat that we're on is you cannot jump in and hug a shark.
No
and
shark hugging.
Inevitably, the story comes up. A wonderful family too, but this boy jumped in and hugged the shark. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
do you have a sign that says no shark hugging?
No,
you should put one on the boat in honor of him.
We have a printer and a laminator, so we can make that happen. I've never thought about doing a sign, but that would be fun, and it would bring up a topic of conversation with guests, because they're going to see it and be like, "This mean."
It might be a good icebreaker too, something that they see when they first get on. Anyway, all right, so I guess that might be it, but I had one more question. My child started asking me, what would you take on an island with you, Mom? So I thought that would be a lot of fun to start asking during the podcast. If you could take one album with you, one drink, and one person on the island for the rest of your life, like it's you and those three things, what would you take?
All right, I'm going to take a Teddy Swims album.
Okay.
I'm going to take water. I'm going to take this man.
This man. Water's already there. You have to pick something else.
I would take coffee then, for sure.
Yes,
coffee is my next favorite. Yeah.
Coffee was going to be my answer.
Maybe sparkling.
CO2 to make the water carbonated.
Yeah.
These are our people. Like, you both just answered things that I would say. Like, I have to have coffee and I have to have sparkling water.
The amount of LaCroix that we go through is staggering.
That's why we purchased a Soda Stream.
So
is it hard to exchange?
Something here, but we haven't even looked at it to see what cartridges it needs. But
So I've actually purchased all the parts to make my own. I just need a big CO2 bottle because the soda stream ones are super good, but
we saved hundreds of dollars switching over. We were drinking like a case and a half a day. Like
oh, for sure.
At least
you can save more money because you can modify your soda stream to accept a big CO2 bottle that you can get filled at a welding supply for like pennies on the dollar compared to those soda stream canisters.
Wow.
There's another level of savings.
We're going to talk after this how to do that. Sorry, but you need to tell me what you would take. What album? I'm sorry, I interrupted. Yes.
Yeah, no, I take her, of course. So we love this guy, Teddy Swims. Found him on YouTube.
He is fantastic.
Since she's already taken him, I'll probably say it's like old Bob Seger, probably an old Bob Seger.
That's a good pick.
Those are great sing-alongs. Keep yourself busy on the beach.
Yeah.
And coffee or Diet Coke and this person for sure.
Yeah.
But what's funny is that for our wedding, when we got married, Stephanie's, maid of honor set aside those questions, the cool question and answer party stuff for the and the pre-game stuff for what would the husband say. And my response to the question then was, if you could take one thing, what would it take? And to an island, I said a boat.
Yeah. It's a good answer.
Give me the option, take the boat. And she just said me.
I said him because I'm like, we'll figure out all the things. He will figure out how to make a shelter and where to get water.
You said build a boat. Did you see on one of the forums in the BVI, someone had the boat they built and it washed off over onto Salt Island, and they were asking if someone could retrieve it for them?
The little plywood catamaran looking thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that.
I was like, what? Where was it to begin with?
Why is that happening?
I wondered if they got it back.
Well, hopefully it didn't get damaged. My question is, if it's a reasonably good boat, why don't you just sail it back? But
well, no, it looked like it was
broken a little bit.
Well, no, it just looked like it wasn't really. It was like a floating thing that was in the shape of a boat, like not something you would actually. From the picture, no, I didn't really. I was on my phone, but it just kind of looked like a floating thing, like not really a boat. I don't know. I'll have to show you.
It floats, so they call it a boat, but it might not actually.
Yes, I don't know if it really was a boat. I'll have to look into it, but anyway, I just thought that was funny. The things you see on those forums. Or the drama that ensues from those forums. Like, calm down. Like,
yeah.
Oh, but
Parker, come here.
There's been a lot of those sinking boats lately. Have you seen those?
Yeah, there's been a lot of salvage stuff this year.
Lately,
so
oh my gosh.
We're good friends with Kevin. That's the guy that owns Husky Salvage in Tortola.
Yeah.
So I'm actually on the call list for help if I'm happen to be available as a diver. But so we get all the mess. This is Parker.
He's our optional third crew. He's busy napping. He's tired. But he's a Portuguese water dog, so he's hypoallergenic.
Yeah.
He's very sleepy.
He loves everybody.
But he's our optional crew member, and
not much for security, but great for cuddles.
Yeah. So
great for emotional support.
Pretty docile. That's exactly right. That's about what his job is.
That's awesome.
And
he's on full time
sleep now. He is, yeah.
But if guests, is allergic or uncomfortable with dogs, we've got friends that fight over who gets to take them on trip.
Right.
Originally we started, with two. One of them missed passed before Roscoe's passed, and Daisy, she got a little bit too old for the up and down of the boat, so she's enjoying a glorious retirement with Stephanie's sister in California.
Oh, very cool.
Just Parker, and he loves charming the guests and going paddle boarding and having a cocktail at sunset.
Of course, yes.
Day in the life of Parker is, quite something for sure.
You could even start an Instagram page for him if you haven't.
He's got one.
He has one.
Oh, he does have one.
He has more followers than we have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's got
people
his own
are so
Instagram
weird.
page,
No, I'm just kidding. They would rather follow a dog than a boat.
On this last charter, I had said we should really do a day in the life of Parker with a couple little pictures, do like a little video montage of what it's like for him, having breakfast, cuddling with the guests, taking a nap, going on a paddleboard, whatever it is, helping dad sail the boat because he is the navigator, all of these things, and just put it together and do a little fun clip of what his life is like, it would be pretty for sure. So
That's awesome.
So Stephanie can send you a link to the Parker and Daisy life, because there was a combined page with
Okay.
Daisy, his big sister, before.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you can follow them too.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, keep us
Dog
posted
keeping.
on where you're going, but you're staying in the islands, just maybe moving around.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's potential. We might jump on another boat just for the end of the season. It's not really the right fit for us long term, but the owner's in a pickle, so it might be a good fit for us just for finishing out the season. And then next year, I mean, we've learned a lot being on a 72. Expectation is, most people want a third crew member, and you can't pick up any mooring balls and stuff. And as much diving as we do, we think being a 55 to 60 foot boat would be more ideal for what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So we're kind of seeking that out right now, finding the right boat to be on in the fall that's in that 55 to 60 foot range.
Now, do you still have Dreamcatcher, or did you sell it?
She's actually in contract. We're selling her. So
You are?
she's in
Okay.
contract right now. Depending on how that all goes, hopefully it'll be buttoned up by the first week or so of May,
Right.
maybe second week of May.
Yeah.
So we're
you think
almost
you'll do-
not boat owners.
So you don't want to be owner operators anymore. You just want to be the operators.
Yeah, because we really wanted to up our our game into as far as the class and the quality of the boats and the charters that we did. Like, we're always
Yeah.
kind of strive for a little bit.
Trying to level up.
Of the, we don't have a couple $1 million to buy a boat with. And
Right,
so,
right.
uh,
That makes sense.
and it's nice having the credit card bills go somewhere else.
As the owner operators, we felt responsible to do everything on the boat. And because
Yeah.
Jake is so handy, he wanted to fix everything.
Mhm.
And now you have a balance of like, we can actually, if it is something, we can hire it out and take half a day off, because you need that time to recuperate. But it is nice being just crew and having there be a lot less pressure on us personally to
For
own the
sure.
boat.
I can see that,
Yeah.
owner operators are great, but I also see that they have a lot more stress because you guys feel the whole gamut of it, right? Where you hope that you hire a crew that feels invested in what you're doing, but at the end of the day, they're not as invested, right? But not in a bad way. It's just, it kind of balances out where you can maybe enjoy the charter a little bit more versus the other way.
Yep.
Totally.
So
Well, cool. Well, thanks
we'll
guys
let you
for
know what
coming on.
happens and where we might go.
Yeah, please do.
You.
Thank you for tuning in to the Songs in the Sails podcast. We thrive because of listeners and viewers like you. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. If you have comments and questions, please send us an email, yachtcharters@songsinthesails.com. Now, come sail away.